All right, today we have JD Delgado in the studio for our Atelier talk. How's it going, JD?
It's going good, man. How you doing?
Doing pretty well.
Sweet.
Yeah, what you been up to lately?
Uh, just playing with the kid, man. The weather's gotten better, and he's been like he's like 1.5, right?
Yeah,
He's been cooped up inside for all winter, like just inside, and then this the lockdown happened. So we're not really like normally I would just take him on errands. So he just gets some kind of time that's not like the living room or the office or something like that. So yeah, just taking him outside, doing some yard work, playing with the apartment, I guess.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and work, obviously. A lot of editing, a lot of editing. That's basically it.
Definitely. Does it seem like you get even more podcasts now than you had before?
Like at the beginning, there was like a little spike, but it immediately was followed by a lull.
Mm,
At first, we were thinking that, oh, yeah, it's going to be a big spike because people are just hanging out and doing nothing.
yeah.
But then it kind of turned out that like people listen to podcasts on the go, like on their way to work, got a 45-minute drive or something like that. So that's not happening. And everybody was kind of indoors and locked down for a while. So, and you've got your kids and stuff. So you can't really like sit down and just pay attention to a podcast unless you're single and you're like not working and that's what you want to do. But chances are you're doing something else,
Yeah,
it's,
yeah.
podcasts tend to be like fillers, not like where you go to sometimes, like
Yeah,
I would listen to podcasts while I'm cooking, I don't usually
definitely.
just sit down and just listen to one.
Exactly.
Not usually the case,
Yeah.
but it's bouncing back now. People are starting to go out on their walks and stuff like that. So
Mm.
I think some people might be going back to work. I don't know, but it's picking up a little bit.
Right on. So you pretty recently finished composing for a game called The Greatest Journey. If you
Yeah.
wanna, yeah, tell us a little bit about that process and or your
So
overall approach. Yeah.
the greatest journey. It's cool. It's a mobile app, right? So, and it's geared towards kids. It's like about it's like the Jesus story,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
From Genesis. So if any listeners don't know anything about the Bible, there's like this thing called Genesis, right? You know what? Like, I don't even know a whole lot about it, but there's like the creation of like the earth and the universe and all that stuff. So it goes from that to the crucifixion of Jesus, right?
Mm,
So
mm,
earth happens, Adam and Eve are hanging out, and then like Eve takes a bite out of the apple, right? The fruit, and then bad stuff starts happening.
yeah.
And then that's, Jesus comes along. So it's like, I skip forward, obviously. And this app, like, it doesn't tell the whole story,
Mm,
it like bounces all over. And it's not even in order. But that's basically, the kind of thing. Like the big points are Earth happens. Jesus is cool. And he's like, hey, I'm healing people and stuff. And
yeah.
then people are like, no, we don't like you. You're a bad guy. And then they kill him.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. This is for children.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on.
But you know what? I like, so they had me do the music for it. And, they wanted, it was developed by Way Forward, and I'm not really sure who the publisher is, but developers were Way Forward, and they wanted like a very cinematic kind of approach to the soundtrack.
Mm,
So I've got a lot of orchestra stuff and strings and live instruments and stuff like that. But I I wanted to make it kind of like dark too,
Yeah,
because that's like my style. I listen to like depressing music because it makes me feel comfortable.
for sure. Yeah.
I like it. So I went ahead and when I could, I tried to make it dark and kind of edgy,
Mm.
where it made sense, that's just in my opinion.
Well, a lot of the Old Testament, I feel like, has some edgy, dark content.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. Like, I forget what the story is, but like, you got to go up some mountain and kill your son,
Yeah,
right? I'm like,
yeah.
dude, really? No, no.
Yeah, you're gonna have some
Hey,
some crazy
oh
sounds in there.
yeah, dark, right? So yeah, so I made the music for them, and I think it's out now. I actually haven't downloaded it from the store.
Mm.
Finished it up like, I don't know. Well, like I finished my work like 6 months ago, but they were still working on it for a while. I think it's live. I don't really know, but I've got like their developer releases, so I never bothered downloading it from the store.
Yeah, well, let's have a listen to one of the cues from it.
Sweet.
This one is called Simulation. Right on.
Cool. Yeah. That one was fun. So a little bit about that one. Uh so the game is it's told from the perspective of a team of kids flying in a spaceship that would like go back in time, and they go witness different events. But the simulation, they have like a holodeck, like from Star Trek or whatever.
Yeah.
And so that's where like some of the tracks on it are very synthetic, based off of like whether or not they're on the ship, or in the holodeck, or actually like landing on Earth and in an actual place. The music will have different vibes, right? So
Mm.
the holodeck is all like synthy. It's got, you can hear it. I think it's mostly synth sounds, but I blend the live sounds, right? And the live sounds are all taken from that period of time. So it's there's a lot of Turkish kind of like instruments, Persian instruments, old live string instruments, bowed instruments, that kind of stuff, right? Because like that's what was happening back then. But I also wanted to blend some different sounds in there, so you'll hear some like heavy metal guitar, like some like just distorted guitar, wide open chords. But yeah, it's a blend of instruments.
I heard some vocal in there as well, right? Did you use some vocals, some singing?
Yeah. So so a little bit about like the music that or like the instruments that I'm using. I'm 100% inside the box, right? So I didn't do any live recording. I actually don't have any live instruments here anymore. I think I've got like some shakers and stuff like that, but I don't have a guitar or anything like that. So it's all VSTs and samples. So the vocals are from, oh man, what were the vocals? It's just a vocal pack.
Yeah.
It's like Voices of Gaia, right?
Mm.
And I think what I used in there is this singer Francesca something. I don't know what her last name is, but she did the vocals for like she's on Gladiator, you know.
Yeah.
Movie Gladiator. She has that kind of like, she just had that tone, right? That seemed
totally
appropriate,
yeah,
and like meaningful and deep.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about your story a little bit before we listen to the next cue. Kind of how did you get started in music or audio?
So yeah, like my musical history starts. I think the first instrument that I got was like a little miniature guitar, you know, for like kids. Got for Christmas or something from my parents, and I remember I knew I was getting it because I peeked. I think I looked in there. I looked in the okay, it was from Santa, right? But like I looked at the closet. I knew it was coming. I knew the shape of that box.
How old are you? How old are you?
I was pretty little, you know. I don't really remember.
I feel like you knew Santa. You knew it was a little iffy at the age of like 3.5, 4. I feel like that's where you're at.
Yeah, I kind of, I was definitely.
I probably didn't know until I was like 12, just because I was hopeful.
Yeah.
You saw past it.
I don't know. Well, yeah, I peeked and I saw like the thing. I'm like, okay. I had
and then it was
my suspicions, but I think that might have been the one that kind of like let the cat out of the bag.
Dang.
But so I got a guitar. I was like 8 or something like that. Didn't know how to play it. Just kind of banged it up and stuff. I didn't really 8. Man, I must have been younger. That didn't really go anywhere, but it planted the seed, right? Nobody in my family played instruments or had anything to do with music. You know, it was just me. I think my dad played like trumpet, but when he was younger, but he never, there was no passion for playing music from anyone in my family. So, I didn't really inherit that part, but that guitar, like that's kind of what planted the seed. And then, I think in high school, junior high, I got like an electric guitar. We'd go up over to my friend's house and play Metallica and that stuff. Corrosion of Conformity. It was metal, right? We played. We started with Metallica, and I think we were just starting to play a little COC, and like Ozzy Osbourne, just whatever. Then I ended up kind of moving away from guitar into drums. Played in a band, a metal band. Well, I guess it's metal, grunge, kind of thrash metal stuff. Our influences were like Deftones and Korn. We kind of rode the Korn wave. Korn was new, and we kind of jumped on that like chuggy rhythmic thing. I played the drums in that one. And then
so you had your own kit and everything?
Yeah. I had I still have it, Pearl Export. Wine Red Pearl Export.
That's awesome.
It's over at my parents' house in California, up on the rafters. It's not here. It's too expensive to move here, but yeah, it's still there. Played that, and that was cool. But I think, that was metal. I didn't really fall in love with music until I got into the rave scene and the party scene. And there's something there, there's something to that experience that it allowed me to bond more with music. And that's where I started to put more emotion into music, right? Instead of thrashcore, playing the drums. It's not as emotive as like singing or guitar or something like that.
Mm.
So went through the whole party scene, and I think what really sold me was a didgeridoo.
Mm.
Yeah, so I'm at this rave, and what's the what's the rating? What's the subject matter? What is okay and what is not okay for this podcast? We
Oh,
didn't
dude,
actually talk about that.
it's cool, man.
Okay.
Yeah, just
So
yeah. Full disclosure, dude.
full disclosure, right? Yeah,
Yep.
like I am I'm just out of my head, doing bad stuff at a party, and this guy's playing a didgeridoo, right? And he's just sitting down, on his little rug, and he's playing a didgeridoo, and he's got like some drums. And like at that point, I didn't know what a didgeridoo was. And I sat there for like forever. I don't know how long, but it seemed like a long time, just looking at, like, I didn't even understand what was happening. How's this guy? I think he's just like sitting in front of a stick, and this weird stuff is happening. This weird noise is happening. It's hitting some drums that have like some delay on it. It's all tripping, crazy. And I think that's what got me into performing from the soul, instead of repeating something else. That spawned my own voice.
Wow.
So, don't do drugs, kids. All right.
But we do have to find a way to find our voice somehow.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
So I think at some point after that, I picked up a didgeridoo and started playing that. And, I think like you know a little bit about my didgeridoo history, right? I've made them. I've made plenty of didgeridoos. Played didgeridoo. Went to that festival. I had gone to that festival, Indigenous, couple times, 3 times before I took you up there. And that was it was special. Yeah. I still remember the tent, man. So nice. Just playing didgeridoo and just playing. Was there even didgeridoo in that tent?
Well, we had a few. Remember, because the one guy would come in and like play the wrong key, and we would kind of be like a little mad, but then we're like, what are we doing? Like,
it doesn't matter. We're just
playing music.
But that experience of just playing music and like that was total sober, right? At that stage of my life, like I'm not doing anything anymore, but I had still had that love for music, and that it's so hard to explain. I don't know how to put it into words, but it is a very emotional kind of thing. And it's where it's like, that's also kind of why I tend to listen to depressing music, right? Because it has an emotion that I like, I can relate to, not really, but it has something that I can feel and I can sympathize with. So I'm not even sure what we're talking about anymore, but that tent was awesome.
Yeah. No, it's the good stuff. And I'm similar. I heard this song recently. And yeah, just like, it's about, I forget the girl's name, but it's about this woman seeing herself in the mirror of an airplane bathroom and just like forgetting, like completely for the first time, remembering, like seeing herself for the first time and realizing that like, right, it's just a mess. And it's like, I can't get myself together. And for whatever reason, right, I've just been listening to that song for 2 days straight because, and I get what you were saying. Like you don't immediately like know that it's your experience that you're connecting with, but like it's something, and like you need it. Like at least I need it. Maybe it's like an escape, right? It's that type of thing. Like it's kind of so dramatic and so extreme that it gives me a break from like my own life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I
Or
don't
is it
know.
that it connects with something in your life that is real, and and so you learn more about yourself through it? You know, I feel like those are two different purposes for music. It's like one of them draws you into your experience, and then one of them like helps you to escape from yourself. And either
Yeah.
both of them can be good, right?
I think you can totally 100% do both at the same time,
Mm.
right? Like, ever since like, I started getting into electronic music, I I bonded with it, and now when I listen to it, I can reminisce about experiences, and I can feel that, like, I can go back to those times. Um, but also in that, like, I'm also taken out of like this current environment. I'm not thinking about, you know, what I have to do tomorrow or what I'm gonna, make for dinner or anything
You're
like that. I'm
completely
just like, I'm
present,
just,
right?
yeah, exactly. Um, but yeah, like, again, I feel like we've derailed and I have no idea what we're talking about, but it's good stuff.
It's
It's
so
good
good.
stuff still.
Yeah. Well, dude, let's listen to this next clip. This one's for Eduardo. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that
Yeah.
one.
Oof. It
I
reminds me of
like
what
that
we were
one.
just talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Takes you to that place.
Yeah. So Eduardo one. Um this is one that kind of like goes through a couple of different emotions, right?
Hmm.
And so Eduardo, I think, if I remember correctly, Eduardo just witnessed something that made him feel real bad, right? And he's like, he feels bad about himself, and he feels like he's failed. And then his team comes and, like, consoles him and makes him feel better. So that track goes through. It has like a mood change, and you can kind of feel that change, and that's like part of like what we were doing for this app. It was a lot of cinematic. It was like interactive cinematic scenes, that, so you're kind of like watching a movie. So I took the approach of like a movie, play to what's happening on the screen. And yeah, that one's a good one. I really do like that one.
Yeah. And it even sounds a little different from the first one. What would you say is the difference between like writing something for someone else and writing something for your own project? Or
Yeah, so totally two different beasts, right? And hopefully, if you do it right, you can kind of marry the two together. But writing for yourself, obviously, you have absolutely zero restrictions. You can do whatever you want with any instruments. Doesn't even have to be instruments. So those first two tracks, I had pretty much I had freedom to do whatever I wanted with those. By that time, I think, let me take a look. So yeah, so those were both chapter 11. We didn't do the whole app in order, but by the time I got to those tracks, they were like, we get it, you know.
Yeah.
We can give you instructions and we can give you things that we think we want, but you're doing a good job, and just run with it. We trust you. Just do what you're gonna do. So that's how those first few tracks the first couple of tracks we listened to kind of rolled. But you know, when working for somebody else, there's different ways you can approach it. And what I like to do, because I'm a former game producer, and I used to be on the other side of the table saying, I need this song and it needs to be like this or whatever, right? I'm explaining to a musician, a composer who's going to make the music for me. So now I'm on the other side. I'm the composer and somebody else is telling me. So I know what worked in getting me what I wanted as a producer. So as a composer, I like, there's questions that I know to ask and to help me deliver what they want, because I don't want to do it twice, you know.
No. Nope.
You definitely and sometimes it happens, you know. I've had to like mostly scrap a track and redo it because it wasn't exactly what they wanted. But that was in a situation where they didn't really give me direction, or I just like got started early, right? Because I know what's coming, and I was like, hey, I whipped this thing together. What do you think? And they're like, oh no, we're thinking something else. It happens, right? That's part of the process of working with other people, or not working with other people, but producing a product for somebody else, right? Exactly. Which is different than producing a product for yourself. Yep. And then and other people might like it. They might or might not like it, but you know, if you're making it for yourself, it doesn't really matter whether or not they like it, because you're making it for yourself.
Yep.
So yeah, working with game developer, you know, I like I said, I used to be a producer at a game dev studio, so I already knew the process is, and I have an idea of how their workflow is and what their structure is. So I just kind of like fit myself in. And helped out by not requiring them to explain anything to me, you know, like, because I already know how they're working. Like, explain to me what kind of music you want, but you don't have to explain to me like, we're going to do this by this date and blah, blah, blah. I already get it, you know, and I kind of know what you need by when, because I've been there. So yeah, you know, get examples. That's what I would do, is like, send me examples of what you want. Like, this track, this section, and like, what about this track do you like? Because sometimes they'll tell you this, they'll send you something, they're like, yeah, dude, this is really good, like, we like it, we want it to sound like this, but that's not actually what they want. They like the intensity or like how big it sounds, but they actually don't want that song, they want another song, you know. And they just like, maybe it's just like the volume or like the mix of it, it's got a lot of bass and a lot of treble. Maybe that's what they actually like about it. So when working with somebody else, get examples and, you know, get what they like about that example. You know, it'll help, you know, it helps in the long run. Yeah. To get clarity before you start working on anything. Because like I said, it sucks to do it twice.
Definitely. Yeah. Do you feel like you also can't really get as attached, right, to the work when you're doing it for someone else?
No, you totally can, man. I like these songs, like, yeah, dude, some of them I'm super proud of. I'm like, dude, I like this little song. It's totally not something that I would make, you know. And I said I like this little song, but some of them, they're not little. They're like they're great tracks nonetheless.
Yeah.
And you can totally get into it for sure. I like music, you know. I like music. I've played a lot of different types of music. I've listened to a lot of different types of music. I don't listen to thrash anything anymore, you know.
Yeah.
I've moved through anything, but I'll still go back and listen to Pantera every now and then because like
Yep.
sometimes I want that. So yeah, you can totally get into any kind of music. Especially when you're creating it, because you're creating a project or a product, and it totally helps when somebody likes it.
Yeah.
And like if somebody else likes it, it's like, oh yes, well then I'm gonna do even better. You know, it gets me amped up when I know like a client likes whatever I've done.
Yeah. And this next cue we have there's a little bit more direction from the producers, right? Or publishing. Yeah.
Yeah. This one they totally gave me. They sent me. Oh, you know what? Yeah, they sent me some examples, and then I sent them back some different examples. I was like, hey, that's cool. What about something like this? And because like that's where I wanted to go.
But you wanted them to approve of where you wanted to go before you made something like that, and then we're like, no, we asked for something else.
Yeah, exactly. And if they didn't like that counter
reference,
you know, yeah, exactly, then I wouldn't do it. You know, I you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to save them from themselves. Sometimes they don't know what they want, you know, and sometimes they say they want this thing, but you're like, I think you actually want something else.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to just help them, you
Totally.
know.
And that's what they want,
options.
I think, too, right? At the end of the day, like they want to hire someone that is a professional, knows
exactly
all of the options, is going to help them get the best product.
Yeah, and it's not like they're composers,
Exactly.
you know.
Yeah.
Maybe they do some music, maybe they don't, you know. Maybe they're full on gameplay, like, oh, this is what I know. This controller here, not this music thing.
Yeah.
So in those situations, you just, you know, you have to fill that role.
Yeah.
And you know, fill in where they're lacking, you know.
Yeah.
It's like a situation where they send you something that you're like, yeah, but that's not right. You don't tell them that's not right. you provide them like alternatives that are more right based off of kind of what you're reading from them.
Yeah. And it seems like they always know what they don't like. Like it's more common that they know, like, okay, that's not what I wanted. Right. So you have like, there are more ways to do it incorrectly than there are ways to do it correctly.
Yeah, and those are rough too, because sometimes they say it's not right and then provide absolutely no information about why it's not right. And it's like, I don't know, it's just not right. This needs to sound bigger. Bigger. Yeah. Like, I don't know, do you want more bass? Do you want like should I just compress it more because it sounds a little bit bigger or something like that? It turns out they actually just wanted the volume up, you know.
Yeah.
It's weird stuff.
Wow.
Weird stuff. But like that's the thing, you know. You're working with somebody who maybe is not an audiophile, an audio professional.
Exactly.
They just know how it feels. They just kind of like read that and interpret their language into examples. You know, examples are everything.
Cool. Yeah. Let's get to the next cue. This one is called Feast.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I like that one. I like that one. Yeah, so that one, a little bit about what it is. Feast, right? There's a feast happening in like the courtyard of, it's like a Roman kind of structure, right?
Hmm.
And this is the way I looked at it, is like, this is music being played by a live band. That's why it kind of has that dry, live feel to it. It's not airy. It's not like spacey or anything like that. It's complex,
Hmm.
but it's also simple, right? There's a drum and like a tambourine, right? And that's just like, I think I actually used a drum and a tambourine separately, but I kind of played them, or I programmed them so that it would seem like an individual, like a single person was playing it, you know?
Hmm.
So like maybe the tambourine is connected to the drum or something like that. So there's that. And then the phrase, it's kind of like, if there's like a small band playing and they're just jamming, right? Because they got to play all night long or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
So there's the phrase, and there's like the basic idea of how it goes, but each instrument is doing their own little take on that phrase.
Hmm.
I'm not sure if phrase is the right word. So composer, right? Am I a composer? Yeah, I guess I am. Do I know anything about music theory? Very little, you know, very little. I don't know if phrase is the right word, but there's a whole part. Do 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 do, right?
Yeah.
These little things that are put in there that like kind of make up that statement. So you've got like, I think, what instrument is that? It's like a flute of some type. It's all Persian. Persian. It's a flute. It's a flute of some type. I don't think that was a clarinet. I also have like some like Turkish clarinet, Turkish
Hmm.
violin. I forget what that instrument is, but it plays its phrase, and then that stringed instrument comes in later, and kind of repeats a similar phrase,
Hmm.
and that's where it was fading off. But um, yeah, that's a good track, dude. I really like it. The whole thing is pretty cool because all those instruments are all saying it's a call and answer, but
Yeah.
it's more of like a full conversation, if
Yeah.
you can like imagine that.
I mean, it kind of reminds me of like jazz's approach to live music.
Oh yeah, yeah, and it's in a time signature that was not 4/4, and
Mm.
that was like, uh, they they gave me some examples of stuff that they liked, and they didn't really know like why they liked it, but I kind of like saw, oh, this is like 6/8. This one
Mm.
has some weird time signatures,
Mm.
and they couldn't articulate exactly why they liked it, but I was like, I kind of catch what you like about these things.
Yeah.
So that's where I threw that time signature. I don't even remember what it is. It's like a mix. It's like some, like I throw like a 5/8 in there, or like
Hmm.
a 5/4, just to like make it feel
Yeah.
unique and special.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's a good one. Sometimes I just go listen to these things,
Dude,
I just listen. I'm like, dude, this was a good track. It was so much fun making.
I feel that. Like, I feel like as composers or just any music you write, in order to write the next thing, sometimes you have to forget a lot of what you've done to like keep your brain open and fresh. But then like you forget how hard you've worked and like what you've made. So then I feel like what you're saying, like sometimes you can get frustrated and feel like you haven't done anything in a long time. And
Yeah.
that's when I usually go back. I'll listen to like my voice memos and just kind of go through and be like, wow, I've been
Yeah.
doing this for a while, and like some things are worth going back to too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. I like to always go back and forward. Just do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll delete stuff too, right? Like some things that I'm just
Oh
like,
gosh.
yeah, I'm just like, yeah,
Delete.
I tried, but that's not what I don't want to, every time I go back to my voicemails, I don't want to hear that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then slowly, like, it gets more organized. So, yeah.
Hey, real quick.
Yeah.
Podcast aside,
Yeah. Podcast aside,
was I supposed to hit record on this thing? I see a little record button.
I, I hit record. So
Okay.
you're good.
Okay. Okay.
Dude,
Okay.
also though, I forgot to hit record in Logic until like 10 minutes ago.
Me too. Me too. I love it. I love it.
Did you end up getting it or no?
Yeah. I started it. Eventually,
I know,
and it's going now.
We were just like, let's go. That's so funny, dude.
Well, I mean, it's 1 a.m. for me. I was asleep, or not asleep, but like I was in bed and I got up. So that's my excuse. And now I have a cup of coffee.
There you go. Cool. Well, we got a couple more cues then.
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. So the next cue is a loop from chapter 6. That one takes you right there.
It's just called loop. Visually, what's happening is I think Jesus is like getting flogged or whipped or whatever, right? Either that or he's being marched away for that to happen, right? Because I think the actual whipping is like silent. I don't think that there's a soundtrack for that that actual part. But that one's cool, right? Because it's dark. It's very moody. It's got like that atmosphere. But the violin on that is playing. I called it the Jesus theme, right? Which is whenever Jesus is talking or something's happening with Jesus, there's that melody, right? That is like he takes that with him throughout the game, right? He's there's always that little da 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 da, however it goes, right?
It's the Jesus theme. I love that.
It's the Jesus theme, yeah.
Yeah.
I have that MIDI saved aside as Jesus theme.
Yes.
So I could just drop it in. But in other situations, the chords that are behind the Jesus theme make it feel very uplifting and bright and like positive and like hopeful. But in this one, the Jesus theme, it's straight that there's no change in the Jesus theme, right? It's the exact theme, but it's slowed down and it's played on top of some chords that just make it feel like bad, you know?
Yeah.
And like that's something, you know, that is throughout the game is continuity, right? Jesus theme, whenever Jesus is around, he's doing that. The instruments being used, yeah, they're the same instruments mostly throughout the game because that's the time period.
Totally.
You know, unless like Genesis and stuff like that, they're all synthetic, right? Because there was no instruments, and I just like I like synths, so
Easy.
that's the approach that I took.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, the Jesus theme.
Nice. Very cool. Looks like we got one more. This is my favorite title out of all of them. This one is titled Busy Martha.
Busy Martha. That's a good one. I had a lot of fun making that one too. I think I don't think that that one had a whole lot of direction, but I had been doing some like percussive stuff, and I really like that guitar because it's got like that ringing. It is I'm not sure if it's called ringing, but like a sitar.
Yeah.
It always has those chords, dings.
Is it resonance even?
Whatever. Yeah, I don't really know how those instruments work exactly.
Yeah.
But
Does a resonator guitar have it too? You
I
know
don't
the
know what a
guitar?
resonator
It's the
guitar
guitar
is.
with like the metal sound hole.
Yeah, it doesn't really.
Lot
Maybe
of country.
I don't know.
But they kind of have that twang and sustain. It like kind of sustains and it's kind of metally.
I think it's a little different. I think that I imagine that there's like extra strings.
It's a buzz. Yeah.
on-
Okay.
Yeah, on the instrument that are resonating based off of the other things, other the strings, the melody that you're actually playing. And when you hit certain notes, there'll be a sympathetic kind of vibration that happens on that string. And I can be making this up. I just imagine there's like a little piece of metal
Yeah. Yeah.
that rests on the string and buzzes, because it sounds like a buzzy sound,
It's buzzy,
and a string just vibrating is not going to make that buzzy sound. But either way, yeah, I got that instrument in there because I just like it. And it's so Busy Martha, she was like, forgive me for not knowing the Bible stories, but I totally don't know them. But Martha is like stressed out because somebody she's with, like somebody she's with is not pulling her own weight, and Martha is stressed out because she's like, I gotta do everything, and dude, Jesus is coming over, right? She's like, "Oh, we gotta make it right," and the other person's like, just calm down. It's just, Jesus will be here and it'll be fine,
Yeah.
But she's stressed out because she needs to make it all nice. And in this scene, the kids are hiding in a closet. Like they're always like hidden somehow observing this thing, and because they can't be seen, they don't want to be seen. So that's where it's like you've got those little vocals that are da, dee, da.
Yeah.
It's like kind of whispering, Yeah, that was massive. I'd appreciate if you don't say yeah so loud ever again. Don't do that.
The ghosts in the studio turned my mic all the way up.
Yeah, that was
Crazy
massive.
ghosts.
But like those kids they're hiding in the closet. That's why I've got like that whispery kind of right.
Yeah, I caught that.
And then somebody else, I forget who the other person is, but they're like, calm down, everything's gonna be all right. And that's where the other vocals come in. Ooh, it's like that's kind of like calm and nice, and it's just a mix of stuff. And the scene is very rapid in its movement, so that's why I've got like that rapid like drums going.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that one too. I like all of them.
Yeah,
all of them.
You got a big, pretty diverse mix in the game. That's cool. It seems like it kind of called for a lot of different elements.
Yeah, because like sometimes they'll be in the Garden of Eden, right? And there's no instruments there, right? So with those scenes, I either took Garden of Eden, Earth is already made and it's just existing right now, like or it's it's there. There's this garden. There's no like magical creation stuff isn't happening. It's just there.
Mm.
So for those kind of scenes, I took orchestral approach, just like any
Yeah.
a movie.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
violins, horns, and stuff. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So, for those scenes, there's orchestral, and then for stuff that's like mystical and in space, like things are forming, I made it really synthetic and spacey, basically. And then when the scenes are taking place on the planet, I tried to use like time appropriate instruments and region appropriate instruments, using scales and stuff that were kind of from that region and from that time. Well, I guess scales aren't necessarily restricted to time, but they're regional, you know. We got Western scales and Eastern scales, you know. So, and that was just research. I just had to do research on that because I don't know. I don't know anything. I don't know what scale it is, but
Totally.
I did some research, and the internet told me what scale is appropriate. So that's what I used, you know, as my
Amazing.
basis. I put my own spin on it.
Yeah. That's so good.
Yeah.
So you've been so you're pretty much in the studio like every day. And now I'm wondering just like what keeps you coming back? You know, I mean, it's been how long you been playing music then? Around?
What keeps me coming back to music?
Yeah.
Well, it's like, you know, it's the dream, you know, living the dream. I went from, like, I used to work for Disney, right, in quality assurance, and then that turned into managing people in quality assurance for Disney. It's all like mobile gaming and application stuff like that. Just a tiny little bit of web, but mostly cell phones and stuff. So corporate stuff, nonsense, that kind of killed me. I wasn't really making music then. I still had my didgeridoo, but actually the burnout from that reminded me of, hey, this didgeridoo thing, pick that up again. So I started playing again, and that's where I started to get back into music, because I was, you know, it reminded me of like special emotional times. And yeah, so I did that, and then worked at TikTok Games for a while, game producer, churning out stuff. I just kind of got like tired of it. Didn't really have time to create. Well, I mean, I still had all my gear, but I wasn't really like actively making much. Usually just played with the synths and made little beats and stuff like that, but nothing that like gave me any kind of profit. And then I said, like, I'm going on vacation. Play didgeridoo, go to Oregon and hang out with hippies and do that thing. And that kind of like reminded me, hey, life doesn't have to be this corporate grind. It could actually be pretty good. You know, the corporate grind was like not good. It was definitely unhealthy for me. You know, I definitely broke myself. And now I'm out here, you know, like I got married and moved to Eastern Europe.
Yeah, big change.
Which is a trip, you know, going from California to Europe. And now, like, you know, I've got this studio. It kind of like, originally it was born out of necessity, right? Because I was going to do some QA when I got out here, and I ended up just really not liking it, you know. But since I had like this big QA history and background, I was like, I can do it. But I was like, oh no, like that's that thing that sucks, you know. I don't want
Yeah.
to do that anymore. So I was like, well, let's try making this music thing happen, because I don't have a whole lot of options. I
Mm-hmm.
don't have a whole lot of choices. You know, I got to do something, and it needs to be something that I can do from home,
Mm.
because I don't speak Estonian.
Mm.
That's where I moved to Estonia. I don't speak Estonian, so it's a little difficult to get a job somewhere. If you know, like, a lot of people speak English here, but if you want to work somewhere, you probably should know how to speak Estonian, unless
Totally.
you're working as like the American person, which,
Mm.
like, how you're if you're gonna find that, is, you know, who knows if you'll find a job where like that works, you know.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, let's do this. Let's like take music and audio and treat it like a career instead of a hobby.
Mm.
And it worked, you know. It worked out.
Mm.
And you know, if you look at it as a career, it's 1,000 times more likely to work out as a career than if you look at it as a hobby. You know, obviously, like if it's just a hobby, you're probably not going to push forward and try and turn it into a career. But if you have no other options, which I probably had other options, but
Mm.
if you're in that situation where you got to make it work, you just do, you know. And it's awesome because like I get to make music. You
Yeah.
know, I didn't have the time before. You
Yeah.
know, it's like a big jump to like say, okay, I'm just gonna do this. You know, but I also do a lot of podcasting, or not podcasting, but I do a lot of podcast editing,
Totally.
which works out great because it's audio and I know how to work with it, and happen to have this gear. You know.
Yeah, I think the next time we get together, it'd be great to hear all about that journey and how you were able to build your client base, and there's a lot there for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, was there anything else about the greatest journey that you wanted to close with?
Yes, I'm on the greatest journey right now.
Wow.
Yeah, it's deep.
So, like, where can we find your music? Too much. Dang it, dude.
Good.
Too much.
No. It's fantastic. It's fantastic.
So, where can we find your music?
So you can go to radartunes.com. It's all one word, Radar Tunes. What does Radar Tunes mean? Nothing, but it's something that is easy to spell and it's probably memorable. So that's why I chose Radar Tunes. You go radartunes.com. I also have jddelgado.com, but that website is fully like, that one is the one that I think it's just broken right now. That's where I test and like I just play around with website stuff. So it's probably just I think right now it's like hello world, you know, if you
Yeah.
have hello world stuff, just blank,
Yep.
just template stuff. But yeah, radartunes.com, jddelgado.com. If you go to radartunes.com, you can get in touch with me through the contact form. You just send me an email through there, and I can I'll get back to you.
Awesome.
If you want any like music composed or need any editing, yeah, that's waiting in touch with me, or come visit me
Go to
in
Estonia.
Estonia. Yeah, just swing by.
Swing by,
Yeah.
sit on one of those chairs.
It's really easy. You just come over.
Is it
it's not
easy right
far.
now?
No, it's not easy right now. Yeah.
Crazy, man. Awesome, dude. Well, it was really great chatting with you. Thanks
Yeah.
for being on Atelier Talks.
No problem. Thank you for having me.